I'm sorry for the lack of consistent uploading recently. I've been kind of lazy. I scrapped a video that I'd almost finished because of bad editing, and overall it wasn't that great. But anyways, for this video, I'm going to cover every car that I have made for Roblox in Blender. If I was to cover everything that I had made in Blender for Roblox, then I would have to talk about many unfinished projects and failures to remember to save my files in Blender. So I am only going to mention the cars that I finished 3D modeling. I feel that I should mention my first finished Blender car build for Roblox. It was a C6R Corvette, and there are so many things that I could do better now. To begin with, the car was using flat shading in Blender, so it looks, well, very flat and has a low poly look to it. I did not know that Roblox supported the use of smooth shading when making the car. Another thing I did not know was mesh normals, or the direction a part of a mesh was pointing. This made it so that the car had some inward pointing parts of the mesh, and that made some empty looking parts on the car. If you could not tell, I had a lot to learn. Even now, I still do have a lot to learn. The next car that was actually finished in Blender was successfully imported into Roblox. This car was the Dodge Neon SRT4. Originally, I did it as a bit of a joke, but I actually finished it, and I was quite proud of it at the time. I could not have finished the car without the help of the Roblox Twitter car community, who helped me fix what was wrong and ultimately, well, finished the car. There are a number of things that I could have done better, but it felt great to have finished and imported a car. The car felt monumental, so I set it as my profile on my old Twitter account where I posted all of my progress on games and cars, but in a way it really was important as it helped me realize that I actually could make a car and finish it. So this car was actually made for a game that I was trying to make on Unity, but I ultimately did not. This car is the RX-8. There are a number of improvements from the Neon, from smoother 3D modeling to better detail on the car. I am still pretty proud of the car, as it was a good step up, and it put what I learned to the test. The RX-8 took multiple days more than the Neon to make, and you can see that as the car overall looks way better than the Neon in almost every single way possible. The car is still one of my favorites. It is the thumbnail for my game, as I like the RX-8 in real life despite its ugliness and rather awkward appearance. So, this was made in an afternoon over the course of an hour or two. It is basically a closed-top version of the McLaren M6A, although a bit longer as I was using the normal dimensions of the McLaren. I must clarify that I did not make the engine. That was taken from the Roblox toolbox. I did enjoy making it, but it was not all that impressive as a Blender build. Overall, it deserves a mention, but that is about it. Cars from this point in the video were all made within a month or so of each other, but were made a significant amount of time after all of the other cars, so you can see a dip in quality until it goes right back up. So, the first car that I made after my return back to the platform recently, after quite a long break, was a custom hatchback. It was based off of a drawing that I had made, and I thought it was quite cool, although not all that impressive. It may not be all that great of a car, but it did, in a way, kickstart my return to making cars and stuff on the platform. I have a YouTube video on the creation, so if you want to see more on how I made it, I recommend you check that out. My next project was in the same vein as the last car, and was a custom electric supercar that I also first envisioned in a drawing. Once again, it was not all that great as I made it quickly for a video, but there are some interesting parts I experimented on, like the use of neon for taillights and headlights to give them more of a glow. Like the last car, I have a video covering it, so you can check that out for more information. This car is quite interesting, as it is not really a car. Well, it's a van. So, to explain myself, this was made as a bit of a project to create some Itasha vehicles. Itasha is just anime liveries on cars. First, I created the van, which arguably turned out quite nice, as I worked pretty hard in Blender to make it look good. It was based on the transit van. The next step was the livery, which I put quite a bit of effort into, and I think looks nice. I then plastered that onto the van before making a drift version of it. Honestly, the van itself is a good van, but the interesting stuff in the modifications I made to it after makes it more interesting. By the way, you can currently drive all of the vehicles except for the next car in the game I made. I will put the link in the description. This car is my most recent project and is an Alfa Romeo 164. I know that the 155 and 156 cars are arguably way cooler, as they have some amazing DTM racing counterparts that are very well regarded, but I love the 164 and I think it's a cool 90s Alfa. I think that the cars turned out well. You do not know how long I spent looking for the gear ratios of the car to make it accurate. It is front-wheel drive, so there will be no drift version, but I am looking forward to see what I can do next on the car. Anyways, that about wraps up the video. If you enjoyed watching, please support the channel as I look forward to making more content in the future. Thank you and goodbye.